the Ford Pinto. It was supposed to be America's answer to the Volkswagen Beetle, affordable, stylish, and fuel-efficient. Launched in 1971, the Pinto was a hit. It was small, it was zippy, and it was cheap. Americans loved it. Little did they know, a dark secret lurked beneath its shiny exterior. Ford rushed the Pinto into production in just 25 months, a record at the time. This haste compromised safety for speed. The Pinto was designed to be lightweight to maximize fuel efficiency. This meant using lighter materials, but it also meant less protection in a crash. The Pinto appealed to a broad market, especially young drivers and families seeking economical transportation during an era of rising fuel prices. Its sporty design and variety of available models made it fashionable and accessible. The Pinto represented the American dream of car ownership. However, this dream would soon turn into a nightmare. The Pinto's most significant flaw lay in its fuel tank design. Positioned directly behind the rear axle, the tank was dangerously vulnerable in rear-end collisions. Unlike other cars with recessed tanks or protective shielding, the Pinto's tank lacked adequate safeguards. This design made the Pinto susceptible to catastrophic fires in even low-speed collisions. The fuel tank's location and lack of protection meant that a rear impact could easily puncture the tank, spilling flammable gasoline and creating a high risk of fire. Ford engineers knew about this flaw. They conducted crash tests and the results were terrifying. The Pinto consistently failed to meet safety standards. In rear-end collisions at speeds as low as 20 miles per hour, the fuel tank ruptured, engulfing the car in flames. Ford, however, chose to ignore these warnings. They were more concerned about profit margins than people's lives. Ford executives faced a dilemma: fix the design flaw or proceed with production. Fixing the Pinto would cost money, an estimated $11 per car. Launching it as is would be cheaper, even considering potential lawsuits. Ford made a cold-hearted calculation, a cost-benefit analysis that would have chilling consequences. An infamous internal memo later revealed in court exposed Ford's decision-making process. The memo coldly calculated the costs of potential lawsuits from deaths and injuries caused by the faulty fuel tank design. They compared this to the cost of recalling and repairing the Pinto. The conclusion was shocking. It was cheaper to pay off lawsuits than to fix the car. Ford prioritized profits over safety. They decided to sell a car they knew was a death trap. The consequences of Ford's decision were horrific. Hundreds of people died in fiery Pinto crashes. One of the most infamous cases involved a young woman named Lily Gray. In 1972, she was driving her Pinto when she was rear-ended by another vehicle at just 28 miles per hour. The impact ruptured the Pinto's fuel tank, engulfing the car in flames. Lily Gray and her 13-year-old passenger were burned alive. This tragic incident, along with numerous others, sparked public outrage and led to investigations and lawsuits. The Pinto Inferno became synonymous with corporate greed and disregard for human life. These were not isolated incidents. Reports of Pinto fires flooded newspapers. Stories of families burned alive in their cars shocked the nation. The death toll mounted, and with it, public anger towards Ford intensified. Government intervention, the NHTSA investigation. The rising death toll and mounting public pressure forced government action. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, launched an investigation into the Ford Pinto. They conducted their own crash tests and reviewed Ford's internal documents. The evidence was damning. The NHTSA found that the Pinto's fuel tank design was inherently flawed. They concluded that the Pinto posed an unreasonable risk to public safety. In 1978, after years of denial and legal wrangling, Ford finally issued a recall for the Pinto. This recall affected over 1.5 million vehicles and involved installing a plastic shield to protect the fuel tank in rear-end collisions. However, the damage was done. The Pinto had become synonymous with corporate negligence and the human cost of prioritizing profits over safety. Justice for victims, lawsuits and legal battles. The families of those killed and injured in Pinto fires filed lawsuits against Ford. The most famous case was the lawsuit filed by the family of Richard Grimshaw, a passenger who suffered severe burns in a Pinto fire. The jury found Ford liable for negligence and awarded the Grimshaw family a record-breaking $128 million in damages, later reduced to $3.5 million. This landmark verdict sent shockwaves through the automotive industry and beyond. It established a precedent for holding corporations accountable for defective products that cause harm to consumers. Ford faced numerous other lawsuits, paying out millions in settlements and damages. The Pinto lawsuits exposed the dark side of corporate America, where profits took precedence over safety. They highlighted the need for stronger regulations and ethical decision-making in the automotive industry. Public outrage, the backlash against Ford. The Ford Pinto scandal sparked public outrage and tarnished Ford's reputation. The company faced a massive backlash from consumers, safety advocates, and the media. The Pinto became a symbol of corporate greed and disregard for human life. Newspapers and television news programs extensively covered the Pinto fires, the lawsuits, and the shocking revelations about Ford's cost-benefit analysis. The public was appalled by Ford's callous disregard for safety. The Pinto scandal eroded public trust in the automotive industry and raised serious questions about corporate responsibility. The Pinto became a textbook example of corporate negligence. Business schools studied it as a cautionary tale. The scandal forced companies to reconsider the ethical implications of their decisions and the potential consequences of prioritizing profits over people. The aftermath: safety regulations and corporate responsibility. The Ford Pinto scandal had a profound impact on the automotive industry and beyond. It led to stricter safety regulations and increased awareness of corporate responsibility. The NHTSA gained greater authority to investigate safety defects and mandate recalls. The Pinto crisis also led to the establishment of the Center for Auto Safety, a consumer advocacy group dedicated to improving vehicle safety and holding automakers accountable. The Pinto scandal served as a stark reminder that corporations have a moral and ethical obligation to prioritize safety and protect consumers. The Pinto's legacy is one of caution. It reminds us that even in the pursuit of profit, some lines cannot be crossed. The safety of consumers must always come first. Lasting impact. A cautionary tale. The Ford Pinto scandal remains a chilling example of the consequences of corporate greed and ethical lapses. It serves as a cautionary tale for businesses across industries about the importance of prioritizing safety, transparency, and ethical decision-making. The Pinto scandal led to significant improvements in car safety. Today, cars are rigorously tested and held to higher safety standards. The legacy of the Pinto lives on in every safer car on the road. The Pinto story is a reminder that corporate responsibility is not just a slogan, it's a matter of life and death. It's a reminder that the pursuit of profit should never come at the expense of human life.